What is up, guys? Welcome to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video. We have been talking a lot about mods lately, and I brought up the 6 best defensive teams in Grand Arena, or that was one of the videos. And we're going to be talking about how to mod factions now, because I used to do a how to mod series on characters alone. With Grand Arena Championships and other aspects of the game, it's how to mod the I shouldn't say faction, how to mod an actual team. And we're going to talk about a CLS-led Rebel team right now. And I have my buddy Dagger here. And we're going to be talking about, there's about eight characters here that you can use in a CLS squad that we're going to go over how to mod them and talk about why you mod them that way, and if you have them modded correctly, why they can be so good. Now, my R2 is Gear 13, Relic Tier 7.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it's better than his, but all of his characters are modded completely correct that we're going to go over right now. So that's why we're going to use his roster.
Correct enough.
Yes.
I wouldn't say perfectly or completely correct. They are correct enough.
Yes.
Also, I want to kind of walk you through the iterations of the CLS team from the newer player to the more established player.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the first iteration of the CLS team we're using. All CLS teams will have CLS, Chewie, and Han Solo. What would the next two characters be in the first team we're going to go over here? Or the first 5 characters?
Well, you're going to have Old Ben from working with... From doing the CLS event, and you're probably going to have R2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
The first iteration, I would almost argue, doesn't even have Chewbacca in it.
True.
Right? But I don't think you have a CLS team until you have Chewbacca. But
especially
we're going to start with...
Yeah,
so we're going to start by talking with that trio and who you're going to evolve the team with.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of what they beat and how you manage the team as you go.
So we're going to
start with
CLS.
Yeah.
Start with CLS.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No. You can. Yeah, we can start. Well, let's start with Han. Let's start with Han Solo because he's the first one you're going to get.
Absolutely. Okay. So we're going to look at Han Solo here, guys, and Dagger is also going to describe here why in earlier gear levels you're going to want a crit chance set, and why in later gear levels you don't need that crit chance set either. By the way, okay. He has.
I don't think you ever need a crit chance set on him.
Maybe on Han. In certain characters, it would be that way.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to go. Can I click on? Oh, I can't do that way. Oh, well. Okay, so you want a crit damage set on Raid Han, and you want offensive statistics in the secondaries. First of all, what are the proper primary stats that you want? In the triangle, you're going to want a crit damage. In the cross, you're going to want an offense. And in the arrow, you're going to want an offensive well, unless you're newer to the game and you need some speed.
Yeah. The triangle and the cross are non-negotiable in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You can make arguments for the others, but even when you're just starting this character off, you want to have the cross and the triangle correct because that's a lot of his damage output.
Yes. So the non-negotiable aspect is the offense in the cross and the crit damage in the triangle.
Yeah, I strongly believe you also want crit damage on this team because they crit so much, and you can make the art. We can talk a little bit about some of the different ways to mod them, but I think that through the entirety of the game of you playing this game, Han will deal more damage on average with a crit damage set than with an offense set.
Mm-hmm.
And I can back that up mathematically as well.
Yes.
When you're doing the math on his damage, I know there are some people who mod him for offense, and I just don't think that's right.
No, especially with how much he's going to be critting. As a CLS team in general, I really think you should mod with crit damage sets instead of offense sets.
Yes. So obviously this will probably be one of your first Zetas in the game is his shoots first.
It should be, by the way. It's that good.
One of the things that yes. One of the things that makes his kit so good is the double tap is the double tap on his basic, and then his Deadeye actually gives him full turn meter.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get Chewbacca and you look at Han's base crit chance, if you look at his base crit chance, you can go look at it.
Yep, I will pull it up right here. Base crit chance of... Oh, where's crit chance at? It's right there. His base crit chance is... Without the crit chance you have added is like 80. And you have 5.75% crit chance added. So without it, his base crit chance here at Gear 13 is 80.
His base crit chance is like 55.
Okay, yeah, when you first get him.
Yeah, so basically, when you first get him, his base crit chance is gonna be about 55 once you get him to Gear 12, and I'm assuming that you're gonna have him Gear 12, right?
Yes.
The assumption of me talking to you about this team is that you have them all have all of these characters we're going to talk about at gear 12.
Mm-hmm.
Or better. We'll talk about how they
Yes.
scale as well.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a 55% crit chance added on to, I think it's 25 from his unique, 35 from his unique.
And that doesn't show on in the statistics here.
Yeah. He gains a bunch from his unique, and then he gets 25 from Chewbacca for getting guard.
Mm-hmm.
So his crit chance, just base crit chance, is like 90-something%. So just a few secondaries on him will pump him up over 100.
Yes, and that's not including him at gear 13 already, by the way. We're talking about gear 12, but yes.
Yeah. We're talking about the first iteration of the team. So you don't really need a crit chance set on it. So you can put a health set on him because he is extremely squishy. You can put a tenacity set, a potency set. If you're still trying to beat the Rancor, I know some guilds still have to do that. I had a potency set on him forever because like we were soloing the Rancor back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And once you start getting to the more end game, you start putting I have a health set on him, but that's because I ended up I have a high speed offense arrow on him.
Mm-hmm.
Also because he's squishy, and this helps him become less squishy.
Yeah.
Han's going to be your main damage dealer on the team, so you definitely want him to stack you with as much offense as possible at all stages of the game.
Yes, so you want a crit damage set on him, and then we have a health set here because of his squishiness, and the crit chance isn't necessarily needed with where you're at if you have him at gear 12. And then you want speed, if possible, and offense in the secondaries for sure, and then stuff to make him more squishy or some potency, correct? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, tenacity, potency are fine. Survivability is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of offense and speed, basically just try and avoid defense.
Because he doesn't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's less necessary. I think tenacity and potency are both more important to a certain degree.
So
that being said, versus, and I'll mention this now at the beginning, against Darth Revan specifically, potency is at the very top end of arena, potency is not your friend, and we'll get to that when we talk about CLS. But I generally just don't care. It's not enough of a factor when you can just when you can just brute force it essentially.
Yes. Okay. What character should we look at next? Should we look at CLS next?
Well, the next character you're going to get is R2D2.
Okay, so let's take a look at R2D2. And now there are a few, before we look at his mods, there are a few ways to mod R2D2. First of all, he doesn't have his combat analysis Zated, which, okay, he finds it not necessary when it is Zated. It allows him to, other characters to be cleansed on a crit hit. But the number crunch is what's really important here, guys, because, and you know I love R2. He's going to be transferring 10% of his max protection, offense, health, and potency to other characters until he's defeated. So when you look at those 4 stats right there, you probably are going to want to have some of those 4 stats in the secondaries. Now, you always want R2 with a good, you want him to be fast, okay, as fast as possible. Which is why when he first came out, you really wanted to have speed set on him so he could give stealth to a bunch of characters. But what I'm looking at him to do, especially in this CLS team, is to transfer as much offense over to these other characters as possible. And that's why Dagger does it the same way here. He has an offensive set with good speed, and then he has offense, potency, and this mod's perfect. The square mod he has on him here is perfect, guys. Offense, the primary. First of all, you're going to want an offensive set. You're going to want a health set. Okay, the health set, I'm going to say, you know, you're probably going to want that on him because that's going to help him be survivable and transfer those stats over. But
I'd say I was proud of my R2's mods, but he's kind of slow.
Well, let's see. What is his speed?
It's
255.
It's like plus 98.
True, but you're not looking at him to be super fast either. You're looking at him to help transfer those stats.
I know.
So,
I'm just
you're being really picky. So in the square here, guys, we have. So you want an offensive21 set, you want a health set. He has a 21 speed. He has some base offense, which because you can only have, when you have offensive percentage in the primary, you cannot have offense percentage in the secondary. It's always just base offense. He has potency, and he has protection. You honestly could not have a better mod right there on a character than this mod right now, unless the speed was 28. Okay? So that's what we're looking for here. You want speed, you want offense in the secondaries, you want those stats that can transfer. Wouldn't you say you pretty much agree with that, Dagger?
Yeah, I kind of just looked for the stats that he would transfer and kind of put it there, put them on him. Also worth noting, I think that you want to put there's multiple ways to mod him. The way I have him modded is more for like versatility and top end use. It's so I don't ever have to remod him essentially.
Yes.
So he has an offense arrow and an offense triangle.
Yep.
You could obviously put like a crit damage triangle, or you could put other stuff on him, like you could put a speed set on him if you don't have enough good offense mods. There's multiple ways to mod him. I have him modded for flexibility across multiple different teams.
And the point,
and we'll kind of talk about this with a lot of these characters. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, what I was just gonna say, guys, is when you're modding him to transfer stats, that's why you want an offense in the arrow, primary in the arrow. You want offensive primary in the triangle. You want offensive primary in the cross, because actually he can deal some decent. By the way, I use him in my Padme team in Arena, and he can actually deal some.
Yep.
When I have quite a bit of courage stacked on him, and then he uses his improvise when he has
courage.
30.
That's.
No, but I'm just saying when he has that much offense.
That's courage.
True, but it does help. But you want all this offense to be able to transfer over.
That does piggyback into what I was going to say. I have mine modded because I use him. You'll see me in Grand Arena. I use him with like Padme, JTR, CLS. I've even used him with clones, like with my 501st clones. His
underrated team, by the way. If you throw him in there, he can really boost those clones even more.
Yeah, I don't have General Skywalker, so. But no, I have him modded for as much versatility as possible, because I hate remodding characters. I just hate it. It goes back to what I said before in a previous video. Mod your characters correctly the first time and upgrade them as you go.
Yes.
I also wouldn't blame you for having a speed arrow. There's nothing wrong with a speed arrow. I just I'd rather on the Padme team he doesn't need to be fast. On the JTR team he doesn't need to be fast. On the CLS team he does, but 2/3 of the places I'm using him as speed is not super relevant because of like BB-8 feeding him turn meter, and you don't need speed on him on the Padme team.
And so Dagger has excellent mods on him, guys, and his special offense is 5610. I have him at gear 13 with relic tier 7, and he has actually double that offense, if not a little more. So that's just to show you what relics make a difference.
Yeah.
Okay, after R2, should we look at Old Ben?
Yeah, we can look at Old Ben next.
Okay. Old Ben is a character who is a tank, and you want him modded for survivability, but you also want some potency on him because of his mind tricks, correct? I'm gonna let you take Old Ben here. You know much more about him in the modding sense. You talk about what we're. So
So there's two different ways to mod Old Ben, and you can go ahead and ignore some of the sets on my Old Ben. But you either want him slow and survivable with potency, or you want him fast with potency to get his mind trick down. Mine is modded more for survivability. I want him to just not die. And I know that when he does die, you feed more buffs around. But honestly, I just want him to just like be indestructible. And when you are starting off in the game and you're trying to build your first like CLS team for like Grand Arena or Territory Wars, Old Ben is probably going to be your tank because you probably have him geared up. Your other options, like we're not going to talk about him, but it's Stormtrooper Han, right? You don't have a lot of options for Rebel tanks. Honorable mentions for this video that didn't quite make it were Chirrut and Baze. But this is going to be your first tank because you need him to unlock CLS. So you definitely want potency, you want some number of defense stats, you want some speed, but mostly you're just looking for survivability and potency, in my opinion. If you're using him competitively, you want a ton of speed. But I think tanking him out is more important. And like I said, you can kind of ignore some of my mods. I don't have him modded.
So what sets would you suggest? If we just said, here's the sets you should look to put on him, would you suggest a full health set, 6 health mods, or some potency mods? What would you ideally look for?
I would look for a combination of tenacity, health, and potency. Potency cross. Potency cross, protection triangle, protection circle, speed arrow. You could also do a protection arrow if you really cared. There's many, like I said, there's no real right way to mod him because he hasn't been meta for so long.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like put what you can on him. When you're newer, you don't have as good of mods to like make him absurdly good. And when you're more established like me, you just have those mods on.
Yeah.
Right? Like so
yeah,
he's never
absolutely.
He's never gonna have great mods, and that's just kind of how that character is.
Yep.
But he was worth mentioning because like I said, instead of mentioning like Chirrut and Baze or going into Stormtrooper Han, because like because Stormtrooper Han has less transferability at the end game, whereas Old Ben's more of a plug and play tank because he's also a Jedi.
especially in Grand Arena, guys, where you're using a bunch of different teams.
Yep.
Some people might throw old Ben into their CLS team, even at this stage of the game. Okay,
Yep.
so next we're going to talk about CLS. Okay.
Yep.
And I have CLS. I have a crit damage and crit chance set that has insane speed secondaries in it. We're talking one of my fastest sets in the game. But to absolutely correctly mod him, we're looking at Dagger's set here. You have a speed set on him because you want him fast. He has a tenacity set on him also to make him, be able to not take as many debuffs. And the absolute non-negotiables are an offense in the cross, a crit damage in the triangle for the primaries there. And then, see, I actually have, on him I have speed in the arrow as well. But you have a good speed set and a tenacity set. Explain kind of your thinking there.
So at the top end, I mentioned it earlier that potency is kind of detrimental because I didn't mention it before, but you're not going to Zeta anything on Old Ben. But when you unlock your CLS, the first Zeta you're going to put on him is it binds all things.
Yes.
When you do that, you're going to want to put a potency cross on him and maybe even a potency set because he gives himself a bunch of crit chance with call to action, 50%, and he gives himself 50% crit damage. So he doesn't need a lot of crit chance, right? You're going to see a kind of a pattern with the big three here. Or at least with him and Han Solo. You don't get a ton of crit chance, but it binds all things, gives your team turn meter whenever he inflicts a debuff, and he does that on his special and on his basic. He can inflict up to 3 debuffs on his basic, and I think 2 on his special. I'm not 100% sure on that one. I think it's buff immunity, and I think there's another one. Maybe there's not.
Speed down or...
So that's his basic. His basic is like speed down, defense down, and then stun.
Buff immunity and tenacity down.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So he inflicts 2 of them on his special, so you're fueling your team turn meter with that.
Yes.
And then once you get to the more top end, you want to take the potency set off him, but because he doesn't need crit chance, you want a tenacity set or a health set or I don't know, a broken set with just high speed.
Yeah.
I just have good tenacity mods, I guess. I don't remember what the speeds on them are, but
20 on your circle here, 32 on your arrow. Oh, obviously, because that's your speed, but a 20 speed with tenacity in the secondary. This is tenacity mod.
So
with some offense protection. That's a very good mod.
Yeah, so basically, I was like, okay, what's one of the highest speed mods? Oh, it's a tenacity mod. Oh, I have a tenacity arrow. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right, because just to complete the set.
Yeah.
But that's what I have on him because potency is less important as you move to the later game when you put his leadership Zeta on because they gain turn meter based on resisted debuffs. So the dynamic of the team kind of changes at that point, which is what we talked about on Han Solo as well, is where you start to take the potency off of him as well. Because you don't want him to inflict debuffs as much because he gains more turn meter. The team gains more turn meter if you don't.
Yes.
CLS, you want like the right side pieces on him are like so important. Offense cross, crit damage triangle, and speed arrow. You can do a health circle or a protection circle. I prefer a health circle because it keeps his overall survivability a bit lower. And this is where we're going to start talking about guard. So I'm trying to keep his survivability kind of as low as possible. So when you go over the stats on my secondaries, I don't know how great a job I did, but I tried to keep. It's a
Which
little
sounds weird, guys. It sounds weird that you're trying to keep his survivability low, but because of guard, that's what we're trying to do.
Yes. So I don't remember how good of a job I did on this set, but I definitely, because you needed speed or what have you, but I definitely tried as much as I could to like keep his protection and health down because you need him to get guard on the team from Chewbacca, who we're going to talk about next.
You actually did a great job. You have very few you have a lot of tenacity, potency, and speed, and offense in there as well.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of health or protection for the survivability.
Yeah, definitely tried. And again, it's not necessarily. I'm not trying to be humble when I say I don't have it modded perfectly because obviously you could have more speed and more this and more that. This is the best I could do with what I have. You might be able to do better.
323 speed, guys. That's fast because a CLS modded team with Rebel maneuvers, with the leadership Zeta and it binds all things Zeta, can take down a Darth Revan team if used correctly. It can happen.
I think I can beat 342 or 343.
Yes.
I can outspeed a 342, right?
Yeah.
But again, and the reason I love this team so much is that CLS has 2 different turn meter leads. 2.
Yeah.
Like, this team is just a huge turn meter team. As you like, Han Solo gains turn meter, CLS feeds it to the whole team.
And not only is it strictly, not only with the turn meter, these are the hardest hitters in the game too, by the way, offensively. So you're going a lot and you're just demolishing people. That's why my favorite team in the game is actually this team, the CLS Raid-Han Chewie team.
Yeah, my favorite's still the Triumvirate, but this team is a very close second.
Yes. So now we're going to look at Chewbacca next, okay? Yep. We're looking at Chewbacca next, and a crit damage set is highly, actually, it needs to be crit damage, okay? You're going to put a crit damage set on him, and as you can see, he has 2 tenacity sets on him as well. Crit chance at this stage of the game, well, just talk about it here. Let's talk about guard first. What makes guard important here because of this?
Well, he doesn't actually gain buffs from guard. He only gives those buffs to Han and Chewie. No, but
he gives it to, yes, Han and Chewie.
Yeah, so he gives guard to Han and Chewie. You actually want a crit chance set on him until you start relicking him.
Yes.
I would argue you even want a crit chance set on him on, like, at gear 13.
Mm-hmm.
Worth mentioning, Thunderx said you clearly want a crit damage set. There are a few times when you do not
want a crit damage set. Offense
for example, against General Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so against General Skywalker, you can't crit when you attack out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
So you want an offense set. And there are a few other instances where you would want an offense set over a crit damage set against, for example, Traya, where she gives crit avoidance across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there are some situations where you would want offense.
If we're talking just as a general Grand Arena Championship team where you don't want to switch it out of Maldron, you can do it this way.
I believe crit damage is king. I believe crit damage is what you want on your attackers, and this people can flame me in the comments for this, but I don't know why offense is still a mod set. I just in mods 2.0 they reduced it from 30% to 15.
Yeah.
And when you do the math, crit damage, especially now with relics, everyone's crit chance is 90%.
And when you have, if your crit chance is over 75 or something like that %, you want a crit damage set on somebody, unless you're, like you say, you're facing a team that gives, or that has a detriment to crit chance, crit damage. Otherwise, yeah. So you have in the cross, you're going to want a offense in the primary. You're going to want crit damage in the primary of the triangle, and then you're going to want offense in the primary of the arrow. I know a few people that can argue for speed, but
yes, speed is fine. I mean,
speed is fine, but I like to deal the damage, so I have offense in the arrow as well.
Yeah, so it depends on what you're fighting. When you're newer in the game, you want a speed arrow.
Mm-hmm.
You want a crit chance, crit damage set with a speed arrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Chewbacca's a weird character because he actually has, I don't want to say a low crit chance rating, but he doesn't give himself bonuses the way he does everybody else. So you actually need to work a little harder on his crit chance.
Because he doesn't gain the 25% crit chance that he gives to the other two when he gives him guard. You also want tenacity on him to stop him from getting dazed. Yes.
So tenacity is a super important secondary on Chewbacca. I know a lot of people might not consider it, but on him you want, at least my personal order on him is, you want offense, tenacity, and speed third.
Yes.
He attacks out of turn, so his speed isn't super relevant.
And the reason, guys, is I don't have his Raging Wookiee Zeta either, which what is it? You can't increase cooldowns and
you can't increase his, you can't increase his cooldowns, and he can't be ability blocked, and I find that just very mediocre.
Exactly, but the reason why tenacity makes it so important is because if he's dazed, he can't attack out of turn.
Yep, I was also going to say his loyal friend will be the third Zeta on the team.
Because you're talking about it binds all things first, or actually we can go shoots first with Raid-Han, then it binds all things with CLS, and then loyal friend.
Yep, and then R2s will probably be your fourth Zeta on the team.
Yes.
I don't know if you might Zeta him first. It depends. I think CLS and Chewbacca are equally as difficult to get because Chewbacca is a 5-star unlock. Yeah. So I think most people might get Chewbacca before they get CLS or even maybe R2. Just because bounty hunters are necessary for the progression of the game, more so than the characters necessary to get R2-D2. I mean, you'll get R2-D2 from your Thrawn, EP, and whatever. Don't get me wrong. Yes. I'm just saying, like the.
You might have bounty hunters ready first.
Yeah, in my mind at least, you'll unlock Chewbacca before
Yes. So when you're looking at Chewbacca, guys, you want a crit damage set, offensive set in some instances, but just for an overall, let's talk about crit damage set, tenacity set, or even if you're a crit chance set wouldn't hurt you either if you have good crit chance set mods.
Well, I'll say you want a crit chance set on him, I think, until you start putting relics on it.
Yes, because he needs, like we said, his crit chance doesn't stack with his abilities as much, so he needs to have crit chance. Yep. And since he's going to be attacking out of turn a lot and assisting, you want him to crit.
My Chewbacca's a little light on the crit chance. I think
you have a total of 69.81, about 70 right now. I'm looking at it right now, 70. Yep.
Yeah. So mine's a bit light, and at some point I may try and correct that if I stop being lazy, but. One of the problems is I need to actually farm more crit damage mods that have crit chance secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, or farm tenacity mods with tenacity and crit chance and speed secondaries. Again, the things I'm looking for now for him are so very specific that it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
And obviously I could put a crit chance set back on him, but I feel like that's less important than the 20% tenacity that set gives. Anyway,
if he's not going, it's not going to matter if if he has days, it's not going to matter what crit chance is on him.
Also worth noting, the less he crits, the less he gets feared against Malik, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
So that's how you have Chewie, guys. Get that offensive or the crit damage set up there. Get offense in those primaries and secondaries if possible. We're going to talk about 3PO next. C-3PO. You have a speed set and health set on him. I personally have a speed set and potency set on him, but
my potency mods suck.
What are we really looking for? We want him to be fast, and is really fast and survivable with some potency. Is that what you would say you're looking for with 3PO?
Fast and survivable. Potency is super important unless you're fighting specifically like top end teams again with CLS. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons I could even take the potency cross off him at this point, but I have it on him for the tank raid because, again, I hate remodding. So C-3PO is, again, this delicate balance between Padme, JTR, Heroic Sith, and tank raid, right?
Yep.
It's just, and CLS, you want to mod him slightly differently than I have him because you probably want, like, a protection, something, like.
So would you suggest a speed set for sure? Yes. Okay.
I would say sure. under CLS specifically, I think you want tenacity and speed set with a tenacity cross. I don't have him modded that way because, again, lazy. I use him on like 4 different teams for 17 different things. So I just have him modded kind of like this middle ground for everything.
Yep.
So again, but that's because I have this huge disdain for remodding. So.
Let's say if you're a top-end player and you're going to use him in a Padme team, would you be looking for speed and potency in that Padme team then?
Yes, potency. I think speed and potency. The triangle being a protection triangle is a concession to guard because I don't want to gear 13 my C-3PO. That's just not high on my priorities list.
No.
But, yeah, C-3PO is a pretty simple tune. He doesn't attack. When you're looking at his secondaries, you want to put like tenacity, defense, potency, speed. This is one of those characters you can put that useless defense stuff on.
Yep, exactly.
You don't really need offense. Survivability is still fine. Yeah, C-3PO is a really easy mod.
Yep.
Speed and potency for the most part, except on this team specifically, you want speed and tenacity.
Now, there are 2 more characters we're going to quickly look at, guys, also so we don't keep the video like an hour long. And these are characters that can fit into these teams really nicely. First is probably still one of my favorite characters in the game, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm going to, what am I doing here? I'm scrolling up and down the filters, and I can't even, there we go, Empire, that's what I'm looking for. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, Dagger has him at gear 13, I do not. But the biggest thing with Thrawn is speed. Yeah. You definitely want a speed set. You want the best speed secondaries as possible. And then what else are you kind of looking for with Thrawn? If you have that, you're going to have a good Thrawn. But what other things would you be looking for?
I think I actually do have a tenacity cross.
Let me see what you do have.
Because you want to put fracture down.
Yes, you do. Yep, you have tenacity cross.
Yep. He's actually missing his protection triangle, which makes me sad because that's somewhere else. But you want as much speed as possible, and I would say a protection circle and a protection triangle because on his Terminator swap, he gives himself back 40% protection. So if you can keep that as high as possible, you can keep him alive a lot longer.
So survivability, not only because of the base protection stat you're going to be adding with those statistics, also because he's going to be giving himself protection back with his ability.
Yeah. especially once you get to like gear 12 and gear 13, he has just this giant protection pool. Anyways, I think it's like top 10 in the game or something. Protection pool. It's just silly to begin with, and you're just capitalizing on something that he already excels in. His modding outside of that is really easy. You basically, I have the Zeta on him. It's not really necessary. It gives him 100% counter chance, 100% tenacity. I don't want him to be ability blocked, so I have tenacity on him, a tenacity cross on him. Theoretically, I think the optimal thing you want to do with him is speed and tenacity set, but I mean, it's not super relevant. Speed,
no, and a lot of us
thing, and if you
a lot of us have ebb and flow Zeta. When he first came out, these Zetas were really important for the tank raid, for other aspects of the game. I have both the Zetas on him because I used his ship and fleet for the longest time. So a pretty simple mod, guys. Speed, tenacity, protection. That's what you're looking for. And then the last character, one of my favorite characters in the game, probably one of the most underrated characters in the game, one of the top tanks in the game, L3-37. An absolute
my favorite character from Solo.
An absolute, and by the way, guys, she is so good in so many teams. You use her in a Old Republic team on defense in Grand Arena in a Karth team. Oh my gosh, what are you looking for when you're modding here? I always put lots of tenacity on her. I see you have a tenacity set on her as well. And besides the basic protection, health, stuff like that, what are you kind of looking for when you're modding
her? So you want to try and get her health up too. Like, you don't need to go ham on it like you do with Grievous or Padme or Daka. But she does stack her health when she's prepared on her basic. She also does put defense down on her basic, which is super relevant, especially with this team, when it's just a pure DPS team. So you actually want her to have a little bit of potency. I don't think I have much potency on her, but you nailed it. You want to have
44%.
Yeah, it's not super important.
No.
But if you can put some in the secondaries, that's cool. And the reason why it's cool is because she needs no speed.
Because she gets so much turn meter all the time.
When someone else gets hit.
And is that specifically just Scoundrels?
And when AoE, she just gained her cleanse is specifically Scoundrels.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
I think it's specifically light side Scoundrels.
Yeah, which Han and Chewie are light side Scoundrels. Yes.
Yep. She also gets the bonuses from R2D2 because she's a droid.
Yeah. So it's all just she fits in that team so well because she gets turn meter when she's hit, or when somebody else is hit, when a friend is hit, okay?
When she's hit, she cleanses.
When she's hit, she cleanses, okay? Scoundrels have bonuses there. R2's giving her R2's giving her stats because she's a droid. She has a pre-taunt. She can heal with her Spark of Hope. Yep. She is a truly underrated character. So basically, guys, put tenacity on her, put protection, health, defense, some speed, or not speed, and you're good.
Worth mentioning, I have a crit avoidance arrow on her because she doesn't need speed. So crit avoidance is good because she's a tank, and if she can, essentially, like, she doesn't get benefited from being crit. Like, there are some tanks like Malik who you kind of want them to be crit, kind of, because then they fear somebody. But like, you just want her to stay alive as long as possible, and she also counterattacks. So again, when she counterattacks, she's using her basics, stacking her health, putting defense down. She punches herself in the head to keep taunting. I forget what I don't know what it's called. She punches her.
Spark of Hope.
No, it's her unique.
Oh, self modification or for
the droids? Yeah. She punches herself in the head.
Yes.
To taunt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like,
and when she gets Mark 1, by the way,
consistently taunting again. Yeah, go ahead.
And when she gets Mark 2, she gains 30% critical avoidance and 100% defense for the rest of the battle and become prepared. So you're gaining more critical avoidance when you get to Mark 2 on the prepared, added on top of that arrow. So that's another great reason to do it.
Yeah, you're just trying to maximize her kit. And crit avoidance arrows you don't have a lot of use for. I mean, as we talk about more factions, you'll see that I actually really like crit avoidance arrows on a lot of tunes because I don't want them dying. And L3 is one of those tanks that, like, normally you want your tank to just die. See short trooper bays, things like that. You kind of like Old Ben. They're there to soak up damage, whereas L3 is a little bit more important on the team if you're using her.
Yes,
because she's actually a control piece that actually helps your DPS. So, I mean, it's really just and L3 is one of those characters you have on the team as a mid game character. She replaces Old Ben. She plugs in a bunch of places. You'll see the CLS team has a bunch of different like moving pieces where you can put a lot of different characters in. And then Thrawn is the character that I didn't mention at the time, but Thrawn is the character you basically use to trade your CLS for something named Revan or Grievous.
Yeah. Exactly.
right? You're basically putting in these tunes to then trade up. The CLS team can 3v5 almost everything not named Padme, Grievous, or Revan.
Yes.
Like,
And that's what makes it, especially when they're Gear 13 and Relict.
oh yeah, they
Yeah.
overkill everything not named
Yes.
Grievous or Revan or Padme.
Yeah. So tenacity set, health set, guys, and that's the characters that we were looking at for those rebel teams. Expect many more videos like these to come for teams and stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something from it. If you did, please smash the subscribe button, like the video, click the notification bell so you can be alerted to all videos that I post. I'm also leaving a link to my Discord server, Patreon page, and Twitter page in the description below. Make sure you check all of those out and leave comments in the comment section, please. Let us know what you think. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I just came out. We have in my shard. I have a 7-star Relic Tier 7 4 Zeta General Skywalker.
Nice.
Okay, I'll have to see how that works. Otherwise, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Leave comments in the comment section. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.